So as President Biden has told everyone that he is staying in the race and specifically said, I'm running, I'm the leader of the Democratic Party. No one is pushing me out. I've been knocked down before and counted out my whole life. When you get knocked down, you get back up. And after saying that, he's released a new ad going after Donald Trump for Trump wanting to be a dictator. And in no uncertain terms, this ad does not mince words. President Biden's going after Donald Trump. Here, watch this.
Nearly 250 years ago, America was founded in defiance of a king, under the belief that no one is above the law, not even the president, until now. The same Trump Supreme Court that overturned Roe v. Wade ruled that the president can ignore the law, even to commit a crime, because Donald Trump asked them to. He's already led an insurrection and threatened to be a dictator on day one. Donald Trump can never hold this office again.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
President Biden's going to run that ad in various swing states. Now, I want to show you this as that ad is now been released. You have Democratic Congress member Dan Goldman talking about how this is not hyperbole. The Supreme Court and Donald Trump are working together towards a dictatorship, and that must be stopped. Here, play this clip.
It is literally a roadmap to a Trump dictatorship. It is a roadmap given to someone who has stated that he wants to be a dictator, someone who says that he will be on a revenge and retribution tour. I mean, just to put this in context, Chris, and certainly the details and the nuts and bolts of this actual case that he's charged with will have to be sorted out. But under this Supreme Court opinion today, Donald Trump can pardon anyone he wants in return for $1 million. And he cannot be charged with that. He literally can take a bribe. That is one person in this entire country who now is truly above the law. No other politician, including me, can do that. But there is one person now that can do that. And this is someone who just recently offered oil executives deregulation in return for $1 billion. This is opening up a chasm for a corrupt, inveterate lying, fraudster, convicted felon, accused and liable rapist to just barrel through and take over this country. So when we say democracy's at stake in November, now we know exactly how and why it is.
And it is important that we talk about Project 2025. I want to give Nicole Wallace here credit for bringing it up on her show and talking about, finally, I mean, she does a good job though, but like they need to be talking about this all the time. That Donald Trump's vision is dictatorship. And there's a plan for Donald Trump having concentration camps right away and separating families and like what he's intending to do. Here, watch this.
No, it's not a game and this is not a drill. Project 2025 is their plan. It is serious. It's in writing. It's public. It is a chilling approach to running our federal government that got all the more chilling after the Supreme Court granted Donald Trump absolute immunity. It's the plan that Trump would implement on day one should he prevail in the November election and end up back in the Oval Office. That was actress Taraji P. Henson delivering that warning during Sunday's BET Awards to make sure that her audience and all Americans wake up about what is truly at stake this November. A full-scale reimagining of our entire system of government and who runs it in Donald Trump's image and vision. The mission statement for Project 2025 is a plan assembled by the Heritage Foundation. Sounds like something you'd read on the ex-president's Truth Social feed, and there's no evidence to rebut that that's exactly where it came from. Quote, "It is not enough for conservatives to win elections. If we are going to rescue the country from the grip of the radical left, we need both a governing agenda and the right people in place, ready to carry this agenda out on day one of the next conservative administration." Axios has new reporting on what they describe as Trump's imperial presidency in waiting, writing this, quote, "Trump promises an unabashedly imperial presidency, one that would turn the Justice Department against critics, deport millions of people in the U.S. illegally, slap 10% tariffs on thousands of products, fire perhaps tens of thousands of government staff deemed insufficiently loyal. He'd stretch the powers of the presidency in ways not seen in our lifetime. He says this consistently and clearly, so it is not conjecture. A few other headlines from Project 2025's 900-page-plus mandate, putting Christianity at the center of American life and government, criminalizing the mailing of abortion medication, the most common form of abortion care, criminalizing sending that through the mail, taking the word abortion out of all laws, policies, and regulations, as well as terms relating to gender and sexual identity, removing protections for the environment, denying climate change, eliminating the Department of Education.
Then have Democratic Congresswoman and former Trump impeachment manager, Congresswoman Dean. Here's what she's got to say. Here, play this clip.
And I have to admit to you, I think the ruling is scary. It's scary for the country. It sets a precedent, a question that they have never been asked before about the criminality of the behavior of a former president and whether or not that behavior should be immune for prosecution. It is very scary to me that this Supreme Court, the majority that is, offered a shield of immunity to the former president. And I want to admit to you, Pamela, that what happened was actually they offered him a shield by simply delaying. The special counsel asked for a speedy review, a fast review by the Supreme Court because of the importance of this question. It's never been asked before. Should a president be criminally responsible, held to be tried for behavior of criminality as the time he was president? And let's talk about what it was. It was January the 6th, and his attempt to overthrow a fair and legal election. In this case, I was there by violent means, but by conspiracy after conspiracy, by obstruction, attempted obstruction of official proceeding. This Supreme Court stood in the breach, delayed, and offered this former president the shield of immunity, not to mention the disastrous specifics of the opinion.
I'm a cat person, and I'm proud of it. They say happy cat, happy life, something like that. Cats are a great companion, and my cats bring me so much joy. So the least I can do is feed them the best cat food money can buy. This podcast is sponsored by Smalls. Now, if you're a listener of this show, you know that my cat cannot live without Smalls. Smalls cat food is protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free ingredients that you'd find in your fridge, and it's delivered right to your door. That's why veterinarians.org rates Smalls 10 out of 10 for their ingredient quality. My cats prefer Smalls way more than their previous cat food. Now, I legitimately did a taste test, put two bowls side by side, and then they immediately went to Smalls. And here's an extra plus. My cat's breath is so much better, and their fur is much softer ever since I switched to Smalls. Smalls was started back in 2017 by a couple of guys home cooking cat food in small batches for their friends. A few short years later, they've served millions of meals to cats across the US. After making the switch to Smalls, 90% of cat owners reported overall health improvements. That's a big deal. Now, the team at Smalls is so confident that your cat will love their product that you can try it risk-free. That means they'll refund you if your cat won't eat their food. Now is time to make the switch to Smalls. Head to smalls.com/Meidas and use promo code Meidas at checkout for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's the best offer that you'll find, but you have to use my code Meidas for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's promo code Meidas for 50% off your first order plus free shipping.
I think Donald Trump's former press secretary, Anthony Scaramucci, has a pretty good perspective on this as well. Here, play that clip.
But I know what my decision is. I will not be supporting Donald Trump, and I will help anybody that is contending against him. And you're right, it is a hard thing to do. You get death threats, you get screeds, all kinds of nonsense thrown your way. But it's very important for me and my family to be on record telling people what I saw, telling people what my colleagues saw. And so when they make this decision about the race, they're making it with great clarity. I would take President Biden who may be a little older and somewhat cautious in terms of his stutter over somebody that I think is unstable and is someone that's going to put a big hurt on America. Not only reproductive rights, women's rights, family issues, but I don't want the Handmaid's Tale streamed in America for real life when he tries to deport 15 million people. And remember, Laura, you can't just get them in the armored vehicle and pull them out of people's houses. You got to put them in concentration camps before you can figure out where to deport them. So read Project 2025, understand what they want to do to the country, and get behind President Biden.
Here is what the Biden campaign spokesperson, Quentin Fulks, had to say in connection with the ad release as well. Play this clip.
Biden, when he was 29, that was just elected senator, lost his wife and his daughter. Most people would have walked away. Joe Biden lost his son. Most people would have walked away. Joe Biden came from retirement because he saw what Donald Trump was doing to this country in Charlottesville, because he knew he had to turn it around and he got to work. He led us through a pandemic. He has done a massive amount of work to put America back on track. People, if I take us back to 2020, look at Iowa, look at New Hampshire, a 4th and a 5th place finish. And then 3 weeks later, Joe Biden had almost successfully combined the Democratic Party and wrapped up the nomination. That is who Joe Biden is. He is a fighter. He is going to keep fighting. He is going to keep talking about the vision that he has. And meanwhile, on the other side, Donald Trump is doing none of that. We see him continuing to double down. We see Donald Trump not being out on the trail, not talking about anything. And so, yes, Joe Biden is 81, but Joe Biden's 81 and he's going to stop a national abortion ban. Joe Biden's 81 and he's going to continue to protect the climate and the environment. It does not change anything. We are not being Pollyannish about this at all. We know that this is a margin of error race, and it remains a margin of error race, and we have to continue to do the work from the campaign's perspective to make sure that we're communicating with American voters.
This brings me back to what President Biden had to say when he was in North Carolina last week in that incredible speech he gave. Remember when he said this? Play this clip.
Close with this. I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know. Well, I don't. Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
And when he said this, play this clip.
And we're still the beacon to the world. We can never give up what makes America, America. Yeah! Donald Trump is motivated by revenge and retribution. Well, revenge and retribution never built a damn thing. You and I, we Americans are a nation of hope, optimism, and possibilities. That's what always built America. And that's going to continue to build America today. The choice in this election is simple. Donald Trump will destroy our democracy. I will defend it. So, folks, are you with me?
I think that's very different from the other side, the alternative, with Donald Trump saying this.
What they've done, and they ought to, you know what they ought to do? They ought to release the J6 hostages. They've suffered enough. They ought to release them. I call them hostages. Some people call them prisoners. I call them hostages. Release the J6 hostages, Joe. Release them, Joe. You can do it real easy, Joe. This guy, what he's done to people. And saying this.
Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio was sentenced to 22 years in jail. Now that you know what the sentence is, 22 years in jail, will you give him a pardon? Will you give other Proud Boys a pardon?
I don't know him. I never met him. I never heard of him until I started reading this stuff.
Will you pardon him?
But I want to tell you, he and other people have been treated horribly.
Will you pardon him?
In Minneapolis, I'd certainly look at it. I'd look at that, and I'd look at all the other people that have suffered, the J6 people.
Anyway, tell me what you think. Hit subscribe. I thought that ad was powerful indeed. Let's get to 3 million subscribers. Let's try to get there by the end of this month. Thanks for watching and have a good day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.